What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Luigi's Mansion 3 today. Who's picking it up? I'm gonna go grab it and check it out, play it for a few hours here and there as I get time today. Makes sense with Halloween being around, kind of being in the mood for I guess a spooky type game, but also very excited to get Luigi's Mansion back on a console, so that's gonna be really fun to check out. It's also the last day to enter the PlayStation Vita competition, so check the link below if you have not already entered. Otherwise, though, we have a bunch of stuff to go over because it looks like there may have been another leak for we'll say Smash character when they would be coming out, and it seems to be the exact same thing that happened last time where a trademark was posted probably where it should not have been, or they were trying to kind of just slide it under the door to see if anyone would notice. Also, Sony's PlayStation 4 has really been crushing it, as we've talked about, but now it's hit a big time milestone for that system. And then is Ed Boon trolling us a bit here for next year with maybe a big Mortal Kombat announcement? A lot of stuff to go over here today, guys. As always, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to like button. It does help out. And get subscribed so you can stay up to date on all the gaming news going on in the gaming world. And we're actually going to start today with Nioh 2, because it now has a release date. Also has an open beta coming as well, which is exciting for people who maybe played the alpha. I played a bit of the alpha to check it out, and it did feel basically like more Nioh, which for people who like the first one, it's a good thing, right? But we did get a full trailer. It is coming out March 13th, 2020, so only a couple of months from now you'll be able to play it. Now, I will also say March and April are getting kind of packed now, so I'd say the first few months of 2020 is getting pretty crazy, but you will be able to check this game out November 1st to November 10th in an open beta. So if you didn't get a chance to check out the alpha, you'll have a chance starting tomorrow at this point, going through the 10th to kind of play it, check it out, and see what you think. And of course, they're probably going to be seeing how servers and the game itself holds up and all of that. So good stuff there for Nioh fans. Anyone's been waiting for the second one, you'll have to wait a couple months, but you'll be able to start playing it in the next day or two. We also found out what games with gold we'll be getting for next month, November, and then we also found out PlayStation Plus. I have to say PlayStation Plus looks a little better, but let's start with games with gold. We have a few things here. We have Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter, which there were some weird issues, I think, with those games on the different storefronts. Then we also have The Final Station, Star Wars Jedi Starfighter, that I remember playing that back in the day. That is definitely a classic. And then J-Ride Turbo. That is the month for games with gold, and unfortunately for that month for Microsoft, they're going up against, I would say, a pretty good month for PlayStation Plus, because they're getting Nioh and Outlast 2. Now, Outlast 2 was okay. It wasn't bad. I mean, it's good, again, for if you want like a horror game coming off of Halloween, yeah, there you go. But Nioh, the first one, going there right after we got the announcement for the release date and the open beta for the second one, so people can get caught up. It's a great idea. Similar to what we just saw with The Last of Us Remastered showing up, right, with game or PlayStation Plus. Really, when we just found out about Last of Us 2's release date that then got pushed anyway, but for people to get caught up makes a lot of sense. Nioh getting thrown in there is a great idea, and yeah, PlayStation Plus looks a bit better, I would say. I mean, the thing that I was looking at for games with gold is an original Xbox game with Jedi Starfighter, although Sherlock Holmes, those are supposed to be pretty good. I haven't played them yet at all, really, but still, I look at PlayStation Plus and seems like they're having a better November. I also want to point out one thing maybe to look forward to going into next year for some announcements from EA, believe it or not. Some fan favorite remasters. Yeah, this was tweeted out by Daniel Ahmed, who was covering their call extensively. And they said, we'll deliver some exciting remasters for of fan favorites, including the Command & Conquer game we've already disclosed. So yeah, Command & Conquer is looking pretty good. Like if you go check it out, the visuals are looking good. It looks very clean while still keeping the old classic look that people really liked. But I mean, you could think of a couple of good, I mean, what about Mass Effect? Could we get like Mass Effect, the trilogy remastered and brought to different platforms? Could we get something with Dead Space? There's KOTOR. I mean, they have the Star Wars license to do something with that. A lot of thoughts going in there. Let me know what EA Classic will say, fan favorites that you would like to see. I mean, who would have thought they'd remaster Command & Conquer? Not me, but they're doing it, and they're doing a pretty good job. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start with this Nintendo Smash Bros. Leak that happened. It's funny because it's the same thing that happened before. Do you remember how we had a trademark, the SNK trademark, found on a Nintendo page for the eShop for Smash and everything, and then all of a sudden, here comes Terry. A lot of us figured that Terry would be the one that would be added from SNK, because he's very well known, obviously. Well, he was added, and it all came down to that trademark, and that's how a lot of people started kind of connecting the dots. And now, the same trademark, SNK, has been added to a Spirit event that is starting tomorrow. So this is a tweet that went out. This was from Spoopy Nintenzid, and it says, red alert, the new Spirit event has copyrights for SNK. Could it be? And then they go on to say, I checked the previous Spirit events, by the way, after the September Direct, and none of them included said copyrights. I'm actually thinking it could be soon. So this is for Terry's release. We know it's supposed to be coming in November. Would they just release Terry like the 1st, like tomorrow? Maybe. I mean, remember what they did with Joker? They pretty much shadow dropped a trailer, and they're like, oh yeah, go get Joker. Also, stage creator. So they've done this before where they just kind of drop stuff. And while I think Terry is an exciting character for some people, let's be honest, there were people who were fairly disappointed. Of all the different characters that we've seen added and announced, it was probably the most underwhelming just compared to the others. I'm sure there are people who, again, are excited about Terry. I think that's the one that Evan said that he was the most interested in actually buying was Terry. But to see Terry after Banjo, and then most likely the 5th character of this pack, and then we're gonna get more characters afterwards, is probably also going to overshadow Terry at that point. But you know what? I think it would make sense to just drop them. Just drop them into Smash. People will get really excited. A lot of people already bought the Fighter Pass anyway at this point, so they're just waiting for them to come out. We know it's November. You might as well put them out because there's a good chance that, I mean, based on what we've seen before, maybe the last fighter is announced at the Game Awards, and if you wait until like the end of November to release Terry, it might get, again, badly overshadowed by the next character that does get announced. And I had thought, hey, maybe Terry could have been announced at the Game Awards, but they said November, so I guess they wouldn't shadow drop and then announce the next one. They might just put him out this week. Or maybe for whatever reason, maybe there are some SNK spirits in there, and then Terry comes out later on after the event. Interesting stuff that trademark copyright still popping back up. And once again, surrounding us with the possible rumors and leaks and everything. It's a trademark and a copyright, but it keeps just kind of finding its way onto the website with these events and basically telling us that something SNK is coming, and yeah, it's probably Terry. Next up, let's talk about Sony, the financials they released for the gaming division and the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4 hit a very, very big milestone we're going to get to in a second, but let's kind of talk a bit about what they released to us so we could see, I guess, how they've been doing in the back half. I mean, literally like the last year is what we're pretty much on at this point. Now that we're just about into November, when we believe the PlayStation 5 will probably launch like next November. So we're pretty much into the last year for the PS4. And as soon as you start talking about the PS5 as much as they will coming up this year, people start to forget about the PlayStation 4. But they did tell us a bit about how the revenue is going from the year prior, and things are down. They put this whole pie chart out with different things, including, well, minus 37% year over year for hardware sales. Again, the PlayStation 4 is slowing down. Is that surprising when they're over 100 million? No, not really. I feel like most people who want a PlayStation 4 have a PlayStation 4, and they would only buy another one just so they have another one in the house just because it's so cheap, and you never know, the price could drop to like $150, $100 even later on in its life. Network services was actually up, and that makes sense because that's for PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, and as you start to gather more and more people on with the ecosystem, yes, you're gonna get more PlayStation Plus subscribers. You'll probably even get some more people in the PlayStation Now since they're starting to work in some of their bigger first-party titles. Again, God of War, Uncharted, Infamous are all showing up, and then the PlayStation VR and whatever else I guess they have under others is also up. But here is one of the biggest things that we heard from them, which has to do how many PlayStation 4s they have now sold. So they put out a hardware shipments kind of graph that aligns really, I guess, the time and the amount of systems that were sold, and the PlayStation 4 has now become the second best-selling home console of all time. The only thing that's behind at this point is the PlayStation 2, and it's behind the PlayStation 2 by over 50 million units. The PlayStation 4 is now at 102.8 million systems sold. That is a lot of systems. That is more than the Wii and the PlayStation 1. The PS4 actually passed both of those in this last financial quarter for Sony, and that is big time, right? I mean, it shows for all the analysts out there that were saying, oh, consoles are dying, cell phones, go get those. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I think consoles are still alive and well right now. I mean, yeah, Microsoft stumbled, but Sony's obviously doing really well. Nintendo doing really well with the Switch. So the PlayStation 4, the Switch selling really well right now. Again, the PS4 has dropped a bit, but moved over 100 million units, and that tells us that now Sony has the best-selling system in 3 of the 4 generations that they have, well, competed in at that point, with the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, and the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 3 being one of their biggest stumbles that we've seen, and that's just because it didn't get to 100 million units, and that thing had everything going against it when it first came out. $600? They did tell us to get another job, so that might have been on us, right? But the PlayStation 4, 102 million units over the PS1 and the Wii. That's big time. I don't think it'll catch the PlayStation 2. If I had to take a guess, it'll probably finish up, I'm gonna say, somewhere between 115 and 120 million, but that'll be big. See if the PS5 can beat it. I don't think it will necessarily, because I think Scarlet will have a bit more for Sony, we'll say, than last generation with the Xbox One, which was all kinds of bad when it launched. But hey, we'll see. Next up, let's talk about Mortal Kombat and Ed Boon. Ed Boon does like to troll, right? He's done this before on Twitter. Although back in the day, he did ask if people wanted Mortal Kombat 11 on the Switch, and people thought he was just messing around. And well, Mortal Kombat 11 is on the Switch, even if it kind of looks like a PS2 game at times. It's on the Switch. It's there. It runs at 60 frames. But there's something else going on here. And it has me a bit excited, although it could very easily be explained, I think, which we'll go over. But there's always a chance, because he was on a show talking a bit about the future of Mortal Kombat. This is what he had to say. The story of Mortal Kombat, we're pretty much calling this one the end of the story, but we're certainly not through with Mortal Kombat. You know, there's more characters that are going to come, and we have a big surprise coming next year for Mortal Kombat. Now, I assume the characters he's referring to is Sindel, the Joker, and Spawn. Spawn, yes, being added, yeah, I know. But yes, those 3 characters still need to be added. We just had Terminator, of course, get added. Those are the ones I think he's talking about, because we've seen data mining kind of pointing to another fighter pass that's going to happen. So maybe he's talking about the big surprise being even more crazy characters showing up. I've seen some people make some theories and some ideas on other characters, but stick with me now. What if there is a game that's not a straight up Mortal Kombat fighting game, the typical, basic Mortal Kombat game that we've become accustomed to? Like maybe a Shaolin Monks. I know, I just talked about Shaolin Monks the other day, but what if there's a sequel lined up? What if they have something cool in mind for Mortal Kombat other than just a straight up, fighting game? That would be really, really cool. Or it could just be a fighter pass. I kind of lean towards that, but at the same time, I almost feel like they could do another kind of spin-off of Mortal Kombat. I don't think they should do Sub-Zero. What was that? The mythologies, Sub-Zero mythologies. Don't do that, right? Nothing like that. But Shaolin Monks was awesome, and I would love to see that. He's name dropped it recently. Maybe, hey, he's going to throw that out there and maybe troll us a bit, or maybe he's literally just talking about another expansion for us to pick up for Mortal Kombat 11, but what if they also aren't that interested in Mortal Kombat 12 for a while? Like, what if we don't see that until like mid next gen? Would people be okay with that? I feel like a lot of people would, but the story for Mortal Kombat, there's a lot of fans for that, and they want to see it kind of move forward, and hey, Shaolin Monks 2 could do that. Shaolin Monks 1 was fairly story-driven, so let's go Shaolin Monks 2. And our last bit of news, talk about Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I'm actually really liking this game right now. I've been playing the campaign and enjoying it. I think I'm a little more than halfway done, but some of those parts in the game look almost real. Like, it's crazy. There are a few missions where you have to use night vision and it looks like actual footage at times. It's crazy. The new engine is really, really cool. But a lot of people still go, I don't want Call of Duty. We don't need Call of Duty again. And to be honest, I looked at Black Ops, the last one, and I said, it doesn't have a campaign. It's still like kind of futuristic. But then Modern Warfare comes out, and okay, I'm back, right? I'm back with this. I'm having a fun with the campaign, and even the multiplayer, which feels kind of like Battlefield now because there's so many people in his ground war vehicles and all that, but did really well. Yeah, there was a statement. You can kind of see some of it here with the press release. It is a long press release, so we'll show you the top part. Top selling new premium game release of 2019, which we'll see more about that, I'm sure, in the MPDs for October, where it probably jumps to the best selling game of the entire year just in like, the month. The biggest selling digital opening in Activision history, set PlayStation 4 record with highest digital sales in first 3 days, sold more units in first 3 days than any other Call of Duty 3-day opening in this console generation, biggest Call of Duty PC launch ever, and they go on to say that it sold $600 million in revenue, which beats, Black Ops, remember that was $500 million, and they weren't too happy with it. They seem a bit more happy with this one, and hey, you know what? Infinity Ward did a good job with it. I'm still not sold on Activision. If they're gonna mess this up, there's a chance that in 3 months we'll be talking about how they've done something crazy to this game in Newswave. So I'm gonna hold off on that, but the core game that Infinity Ward has created is good. It's just a good game. So I'm liking it. I'm gonna keep playing it on and off. The multiplayer is fun to jump in here and there, but we're already getting in Luigi's Mansion 3 and some other things are coming up now. Death Stranding is next week, so I'll have to put it down a bit, but I will go back to it, the multiplayer that is, here and there. And we'll finish up the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from M. Bucas saying, honestly, I would really like to see what Prime 4 looked like before Retro got to it. So there are a lot of rumors about Metroid Prime 4 just being almost like cobbled together because we heard that there was outsourcing to Bandai, and apparently the internal team with Nintendo was having a hard time back and forth with them and communication wasn't great. So I have a strong feeling it just didn't run very well. It might have looked okay, but it probably did not run well at all, or maybe it didn't look great resolution-wise, and it was really blurry, and they were saying, hey, you know what, we can't do this. Retro Studio shows up, says they can, and now they haven't. But if we ever get anything leaked about it, that is going to be super interesting to see why guys, they rebooted this whole thing. It must have been bad, and we all want to see how bad. So if it ever leaks out, that is going to be a fascinating video to watch. Or what if a playable build leaks out, and people who have hacked Switches can sit down and actually play the game? That would be something else, but who knows? Maybe it just stays locked up at Nintendo's vault, or maybe they just shredded everything. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. Enjoyed this video, guys. Hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's this Nintendo leak around the Smash Bros. Character Terry with this copyright. Let me know if you think he's dropping tomorrow or maybe over the weekend or even beginning of next week. Also, what about this Mortal Kombat surprise for next year? What do you think it is? Shaolin Monks or just more characters? And then the PlayStation 4 becoming the second best console sold of all time. Do you think the PlayStation 5 can come close to it, or do you think this is like the big shot for Sony after the PS2? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.